What's up everyone, it's Callum here from Callum's Videos, and I want to try and come up with my own scenario of how the Titanic A broke in half, and B, the angle. Mostly want to focus on the angle that she broke at, because I quite like the current theory where she broke in multiple sections and it was pulverised in the middle, because as we can see here in this one, there's this rather huge section of ship missing, which could only possibly maybe possible by a break that pulverised this section. Now I am aware the stern looks like this, but that's because it imploded due to all the air pockets inside. So what I did is, a couple of hours ago now, I got statistics up. So I found out one of the reciprocating engines, including base plate, was 915 tons. So I worked out 915 times 2, which, if I remember correctly, let me just work it out. So 1,882 tons. Right, so that's the start. So let's just begin with where I think she was when she might have broken up. So here's my Titanic model, and I said at most 26 degrees. Now, yes, this looks very sharp, but when you consider theories like James Cameron's, where it's 45 degrees, or I saw one person who suggested 30 degrees, they all just seem a little too steep, you know. Like, I don't see this as feasible, but I can see 26 degrees. Well, I'm either between 20 degrees, which is what this is. Now I believe that she might have split something like this, and this section here, as well as this section here, I believe. So let's just get my trusty parts tools. Judging by the wreck, I would assume an area of about this much being pulverised of the ship. Now my evidence is this. The gap here. That's the first, that's the second. There's no third funnel, that's the fourth. Although, yeah, this is not a third funnel, I don't believe, because that's the second. So the third would have been here. And if we look, it's like, and I do actually have more. If we look here on Titanic's wreck, if we draw lines, there's here, and there's a lot here that was pulverised. Now I am aware that about this much was because of implosion, but on my thing, I strongly believe that this much here was just pulverised during the breakup. So, according to my theory, there is this much unsupported here. This here is all unsupported weight that the ship has to try and hold. Now, the hull was never designed to deal with this. So you've got to imagine all of this here is unsupported. Now, what do we have that isn't supported? The engines, although partially supported, it would still act as a unsupported force on the ship. So, unsupported, I estimate around 20,155 tons. The ship itself was 50,155 tons. I have halved that weight and taken off an extra 6,000 tons, because if it was half it would be bang on here, but it was like all of this and all of this. In fact, I'll show you. So on the breakup it was this and this. I believe the breakup started here and here, like 2 mini breakups, so to speak. So she started breaking up in 2 places, hence the pulverization. So you gotta imagine all of this is unsupported weight. So 20,155 tons is unsupported. My evidence: the 2 reciprocating engines alone was 1,882 tons. The boilers, I have assumed 10 boilers, was unsupported. I don't quite know where, but I believe 10 boilers was unsupported, because 5 boilers was in the boiler room 2 and 5 in another, so in boiler room 1, so that makes 10 boilers, and each boiler was 91 something and a half tons. Yeah, 91 and a half tons. So that times 10 was 915 tons. The Parsons turbine I have estimated to be around 1,000 tons. And then in terms of the rest of the fixtures inside of the stern, like all of this, hull, windows, fixtures, anything other than engines and boilers, and well, all that as well, I have sort of estimated around 20,155 tons unsupported. Now a ship ain't designed to deal with that, so what ends up happening is she begins to break. Now, where does she break first? I believe what first happens is this first break. So if we try to model this, so we got the first break. Now this is going to obviously want to be pushed forwards. So what begins to happen is she is sort of crumpled. I remember Charles Joe heard a pop, which could have been the first break, considering he was around the pantry when it happened, on B deck, so over down here. Then right, so I have just found a light that should be gone. So what begins to happen is this crushing force begins to like compress the ship, and then because it's got then this section going, this too is then compressing, and then what will happen over time, over a couple of seconds actually, this whole section will just be gone, basically pulverized, which let's just try and get rid of these ropes, because well, they're not very realistic at all. So the stern, what do I think happens now? So we've had the 2 breakups, we've got the stern, and then we've got this middle section. So let's just show it you again. So this is compressing this is compressing this, and then it just gets sort of smushed. So the stern after, now that it's had this huge weight gone, the bow now plummets down to no man's land, but the stern, very likely it capsizes, because what I haven't figured actually is this. because Titanic had approximately, now not saying it was an actual figure, but about a 15-degree list to port, according to some survivor testimony. So, this would actually make the situation a lot worse for this ship, because we've got a twisting action as well as a compression action, which the ship is not designed to handle. So this buckles into this then just begins to crumple this, and that just like disappears. Now the stern, very likely capsized after, because he was the Baker Jones, I can't remember his full name, but I know it was Joey something. He was reportedly having stayed on the ship up until its final moments. So it's very possible and very likely that this is sort of how the ship might have appeared after the breakup, in two halves and capsized. So these ropes obviously would not exist anymore. So we've got the stern capsized, and the bow just does what the bow does and just disappears. Now we've got this stern area just floating here. She might begin to rise to an extent, but very littly, you know, like she'd very muchly just be going almost vertical maybe, but then she would plummet, as Joe in Someone has stated. So then the stern just slowly disappears. So the stern, again, my evidence for this is as stated. There is this rather huge section of Titanic just blatantly missing, which doesn't naturally happen. So this just doesn't normally happen. And when we look at lineups, you know, lining these two things up, we can begin to see a very clear breakup pattern. Now, it is only possible, as I say, this is only a theory. Most, like my Honesty glass at the moment, depicts that it was at least 30 degrees Durham. But I don't know how to feel about a 30-degree thing, because that does seem very, very unrealistic for a ship of Titanic size. You know, I would be very surprised if a weight of over 20,000 tons could be supported by just nothing, you know, other than its hull. It is very likely it was a top-down scenario. This just seems almost ridiculous. Like, if you're going to be at a 30-degree angle, like, you might as well just slip beneath the waves, you know. And then when you consider everything else that's got to be factored into this, you know, the approximately 16-degree list to port, it begins to get very very unrealistic, you know. Like, this just looks blatantly vertical. You might as well try and say something like Titanic got to this angle, 60 degrees, and did that, or flipped upside down. I am very against anything above 28 degrees, 26 degrees. It's very, very, very unlikely that it could reach an angle of that. Again though, a 26 degree angle, as I previously stated, something seems more correct with an angle like that. And it doesn't seem kind of out of place for the angle. I get this goes against a lot of what people believe at the moment, but who knows, this is only a theory at the moment, as is with every other theory on the planet at the moment. The only theory that is despised is idiot Aaron 1912, who just thinks the ship could V-break. But it is very likely this is how she looked moments before plunge and split. Very, very likely. Anyway, that's it for today. I just wanted to show you this video because I have sort of worked it out on how I believe the Titanic might have split, yeah. I believe, as I say, she split into, well, in four, technically, my theory states. I suggest that there's a compression force going like this, and then a compression force going like this. Like two halves just like pushing together, which obviously can't happen, hence why it's just been destroyed. So, comment your thoughts below, and I probably ain't even gonna edit this, I'm just gonna shove it on YouTube, and yeah. So, as I say, comment your thoughts below, and I might see you at some point. Bye bye for now.